Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, and if you've been enjoying these videos on data, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. But in this next video series, what we're going to be doing is learning a little bit about building BI dashboards, aka business intelligence dashboards. Okay, really just the basics, but bottom line is basically this is a way of taking the data that you've curated and making it visible and shareable in a easy to use way. So there's plenty of tools that you can use to build BI dashboards, such as paid for applications such as Tableau and Power BI, which kind of tend to be sort of probably the biggest things in the space. But there are also open source alternatives like Superset, which is what we'll use today, so which is zero cost. We can set this up on your laptop and you can begin getting hands-on with BI dashboards, which again, the feel of this will be very similar to if you move to other software like Power BI, Tableau, etc. And yeah, there's many other alternatives. There's even a cloud managed service around Superset called Preset. So there are a lot of options on how to build BI dashboards. Of course, you can also just do visualizations in notebooks using libraries like Seaborn, like we've done in previous videos with polars. So you have lots of options on how to basically deliver the information to generate business insights. Okay, and this is all on the analytics side. Then there's the whole story of machine learning, which probably would be a conversation for a different video series. But in this first video in this series, what I want to do is just talk about the setup. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to set up Dremio, Nessie, Minio, and Superset all on our laptop, so we have an entirely laptop run environment, so that way you can kind of get used to working with BI dashboards. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off by creating this Docker Compose file. Okay, and again, links to all these things will be in the video description. And again, you'll find this in my repository as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Docker Compose file. So that's Docker compose.yaml. I'm going to copy this from this sample code. Post that. Oops, I don't think I copied it. Copy. Control V. Paste. There we go. Okay, and again, what we have here, we have our Nessie catalog. So that's going to be how we track iceberg tables. We have our Superset. Again, Nessie will be known as catalog. Superset will be known as BI dashboards or dashboards. Our Minio, which will be our storage for our data, which will be under storage. And Dremio, which will be our lakehouse engine that's put on top of all this to make it really easy to sort of curate our data. And then Dremio can then deliver that data to Superset to create our BI dashboard. So that way, instead of having to connect several different data sources and manage different connections with Superset, we can connect all our data to Dremio, curate all our views on that data from Dremio, and then let Superset just kind of deliver the visual. Okay, cool. And they're all going to be working on a shared network called Dremio Laptop Lakehouse. But more importantly is these names, because then these containers can then view each other on that network by these names. Okay, so with that, all I have to do, if you have Docker installed, so again, you can always go to docker.com to install it. But once you have that, all you have to do is just type in Docker compose up, and that's going to begin spinning up all these containers. That will take a moment. Now, the cool thing is the Superset container is actually a container that an image that I created that takes the base Superset image and adds all the Dremio drivers you need. So that way it'll just kind of work right out of the box. Great for this learning. Okay, so cool. That's all kind of getting generated. So let's just see if Minio's up so we can create our warehouses or our bucket. So I'm going to head over to local storage 9001. Okay, yep, that's up. And then again, the username and password should be admin password. Basically, that is set right here in the environmental variables. Then I want to click to create my buckets. Okay, we'll just create a bucket called warehouse, and we'll just do that for the sake of expediency. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to head over to Dremio, which would be, not Dremio, the cloud version. I want to head over to Dremio on my computer, which would be at localhost 9047. Okay, it's still starting up, so that's why we got that. So we just give it a minute, and there it goes. It's done starting up. So then we're going to create our user. You're going to want to make sure you remember your username and password because we're going to need it. So Alex Merced. My username will be Alex Merced. Okay. Use just there. Okay, and then password we're going to want to use, again, put whatever password you want. For me, I'm going to put cheese 2024. Okay, just because I don't want it to be my actual password. Cheese 2024. Okay, cool. So we're in Dremio. So now I just need to connect a data source. Okay, so I'm going to add a data source right here. I'm going to click add a Nessie source. And we're going to call that warehouse, because that's going to connect to our warehouse bucket. And then here we need to add, should be HTTPS catalog. And that port should be, and again, not HTTPS, HTTP. And that's going to be catalog port 19120. Because again, this is what we're doing is we're connecting to the catalog so Dremio can see the list of tables and figure out where the metadata for those tables are on our Minio server. Okay, catalog 120, which then should be /API /v2. Okay, so that should be the URL for that. Again, no authentication. Storage, okay, that's going to be, we put in just our normal password for Minio, admin password. We want to just kind of make this connect straight to our warehouse bucket. So we just put /warehouse there. And we don't want the connection to be encrypted because it's running on my laptop. And I need to add these properties so that way we're using that Dremio compatibility mode to work with S3 compatible object storage. So that'd be S3 file stack access true. Then the endpoint, which should be storage 9000, because we're pointing, that's going to point to Minio, because the idea is Dremio needs both these credentials because basically when it runs a query on a table in Nessie, it's first going to consult the Nessie catalog, say, hey, you have this table. Nessie catalog says yes, you can find the metadata here, which points to an address on Minio, and then Dremio is going to need the authentication to be able to access those files on Minio. Okay? Because the catalog is merely a store of references to where the metadata, that table can be found. Because we might have, theoretically, you can have tables in many places, and all of that being stored in your Nessie catalog. Okay, name, let's see here. Oh yeah, we want to put the Dremio S3 compat, and that should also be true. And that should be everything we need. Save. Okay, and that connection is established. Good. Now all we have to do is go get into Superset and establish the connection between the two. So Superset's going to be at localhost 8080/login. Okay, so there's Superset. Okay, I'm like already logged in, so that's interesting. Okay, we want to expand that. Refresh the board. Yeah, no, I should have to log in. Let me log out. Okay, and then we're going to log in. And then the password actually should be, what should be the password? I forget. I have that over here. Okay, the password should be admin and admin. Okay, so that's going to be the username and password. So let me go back to Superset. And that's going to be admin and admin. Sign in. Okay, now we're in there properly. Okay, yeah, something seems a little off in the way that's generated. Profile. Yes. Oh, I know why. There was a step I forgot. Okay, so basically after we start up the image, we need to actually initialize Superset. So the front end's there, but we need to still initialize it. So what I need to do is in another terminal, I need to run docker compose. So that's again because I'm doing it based on this docker compose file. And then we use exec, meaning I want to execute a command against a particular container. The container that I want to execute against is dashboards. Okay, so it's space dashboards. That's a container. And then the command I want to run is superset init. Okay, and that's going to take a second to run. Okay, but that's going to essentially initialize Superset so that way we can actually start using it. So I'll give it a moment to do that. Okay, so once the command is done running, so you can see that it actually goes back to your prompt. So again, if it doesn't go back to your prompt, it is not completed. It does take a few minutes. Okay, but once that is done, we should be able to go back to Superset. So again, that's going to be localhost 8080/login. And okay, and now this is looking much better. See, basically the big difference is that now I have this plus button here, and now I can actually see I can establish database connections. So in this case, what I want to do is click on database connections, and we're going to want to add a database. So right now it has a default SQLite database that exists on the container for you to practice with. So you could practice with that, but you can also click here on database to establish our connection to Dremio, which all we have to do is click on supported databases, scroll to other, because you can connect to anything that has sort of an SQL Alchemy interface, which is already installed on this container for Dremio, this custom container. And then we're going to use essentially this URL here. Okay. And again, there'll be a link to this in my repo to get to this specific page and in the video description. Okay. Cool. Okay, so now when I want to go to Superset, so I'll put the URL there, and there's a couple things we need to replace. So again, it's dashboards here because that is the container. And when these containers speak to each other, they can see each other by those names that we specified in the Docker Compose. But the username again was cheese2024. The username was Alex Merced for me when I set up Dremio. So these are your Dremio username and passwords. So essentially what it's saying, hey, I'm connecting using a Dremio flight connection to using this username and password. And this is the location of the host or where the computer that it is running on. And then just some options that you put in there. Use encryption false because, again, we're running off our laptop, so we're not using SSL, so that should be false. So now I should hit test connection to make sure that it's working. Okay. And failed to connect, remote connection refused. Okay, so let me take a look into why that might be the case, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here is the story. You're going to need the IP address of the Dremio container. Now, fortunately, you can get that pretty easily from Dremio. So if you head over to the gear here, so when you're on Dremio, you can see the list of the nodes on your Dremio cluster, which in this case is just our computer. Okay, and you see right there, there is the IP address. So we can just kind of copy it from there. That's what we want to connect to. And then when you go to Superset, you would just put that in the URL instead of the name. Okay, and then when you would hit test connection, and see, that is what you'd want to see. See, it says connection looks good right there in the corner. Okay, cool. So with that, we just hit connect, and that should establish our connection from Superset to Dremio. So there we're all set up. So in this case, we're all set up to go further and start learning how to build dashboards with Superset, but we'll continue that in the next video. Okay, and just so in case you want to know, another way you could have gotten that IP address, okay, in case you ever need to get the IP address of any other container, in this case, Dremio kind of provides this to us pretty easily. You could do Docker network ls. This will list all the networks currently running that Docker has created. So you'll see there's all these different networks that I've created for different things I've done. So this one is the right one because basically what it is it has the name of the network that I have in the Docker Compose file, and then it's prefixed by the name of the folder that I'm running this out of. So I'm in a folder called BI Dashboards. So that would be the network that I'd want to inspect. So now what I could do is I could do Docker inspect. Okay, and then I would type in either the name or the network ID. So I could just be like BI underscore, and I can use tab autocomplete here. So I can just hit tab. Yep, there it goes. And then what I do is I hit enter, and it's going to come out with this big JSON object that's going to show you all the details for each container. So then you would look for the Dremio container, which should probably be at the bottom. That's catalog. So you look for the one that says cold storage, catalog, Dremio. And then see right there is the IP address. So same IP address we saw on the Dremio dashboard. But again, the idea is that you'd want to pass the IP address to the Dremio, which also makes me realize that we should have put Dremio in the URL. So we didn't even need the IP address. I was just putting in the wrong name in the URL. But yeah, so that's how you can connect it. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video.